Hello and welcome to this week's Battle of the Ports that so many people have asked for over the years, but I've always put it off because I have no idea how to play the game. This is Populous, developed by Bullfrog Productions and first released for the Amiga in 1989. You assume the role of a deity who must lead followers through direction, manipulation and divine intervention, with the goal of eliminating the following led by the opposing deity. Played from an isometric perspective, the game consists of more than 500 levels, with each level being a piece of land which contains the player's followers and the enemy's followers. The player is tasked with defeating the enemy followers and increasing their own followers' population using a series of divine powers before moving on to the next level. Populous received critical acclaim upon release, with critics praising the game's graphics, design, sound and replay value. It was nominated for multiple year-end accolades, including Game of the Year from several gaming publications. Retrospectively, it has been considered one of the greatest video games of all time, which is debatable, but what is obvious? Populous has easily reached high status in the history of gaming. Now, if it wasn't already obvious, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I've read the instructions and I have a general understanding of the game, but do I bollocks know what is going on? So yeah, I can't comment on the gameplay, but at least I can comment on the looks and sound and interaction. Since it's difficult to know when each port of Populous was released, we'll just go with them in a random order, which brings us on to the Acorn Archimedes. Straight away, this looks just like the Amiga and would easily be mistaken for the Amiga had you only seen a screenshot. There are differences such as vastly faster loading and higher quality audio. The game also runs a bit faster, but overall the experience is pretty much the same. Atari ST time now, and yet again we have a game that looks like the Amiga original. But where is the sound? At first I thought my copy was buggered, so I checked out playthroughs on YouTube, and sure enough, that was silent as well. How bizarre. Without sound makes this game extremely dull. Best avoid this version if you have other options. Developed by Infinity Co., this is the Fujitsu FM Towns release. It has a more pleasant look than the versions we've seen so far due to a slightly lighter or more pastel colour palette. Or at least that's how it seems to me right now, playing this 2 hours after the previous ST version. As for playability, yeah, it's Populous. Unfortunately the audio is rather crackly on this port. Could that be because it's a direct port of the MS-DOS version? Well, we're about to find out. Well, here is the MS-DOS version, and I think it's safe to say that the FM Town version was not based upon this one. What's with the horrible looking title screen? And where is the standard opening found on the previous 4 versions? As to be expected, the game looks nice, well as long as you're not playing in CGA mode. But what's with the horrid grating music? Sounds like a poorly programmed Mega Drive game from the States. Sorry guys, but US developed Mega Drive games do have the worst audio all round. Next up is the Sharp X68000 version. Just like the FM Towns version, this was developed by Infinity Co. So at least we now know where the FM Towns port originated from. I'm loving the FM synth soundtrack of this version. It's really atmospheric and vastly superior to the grating mess on the MS-DOS version. Let's finish off with the computer ports with the NEC PC98 port. Now, while not as playable as the other two Japanese ports on the X68000 and FM Towns, this NEC PC98 version is at least full screen. The main issue with this version is the lagginess of the game. You can move the map fine enough, but actually making the game do anything is slow. Even just changing the terrain can be a slog. If you're after a Japanese version of this game, check out the Sharp X68000 version, followed by the FM Towns. Okay, onto the console, starting with a bit of Populous on the move via the good old Game Boy. Now you'd expect Populous to be a nightmare to play on the Game Boy, and you'd be right. The interface is awful. Pressing select brings up the main map, while pausing brings up the option select screen. Thing is, these don't seem to select like they do in the PC version. They're also tricky to make out. Could I bollocks find the arrows to symbolise building up and flattening the land? Then there's the in-game graphics. Again, quite messy and difficult to make out what's going on. As for scrolling around the map, you basically just push in the direction you want to go. So at least that's simple. But yeah, overall, this is a total mess. Now on to the real console, starting with the Mega Drive version. The game is a little sluggish, truth be told, and it's lacking in quality audio. The Mega Drive could have easily recreated the audio found in the Sharp X68000 version, but that was not to be the case as it was developed by Bullfrog Productions themselves. Can't say I'm a fan of this port. Next up is the Master System version, which was developed by Code2Go. The only other game I know they developed was Turbo Outrun on the PC, and that was crap. This Master System version of Populous looks the part, but man, the controls are not intuitive at all. The map is scrolled around just like the Game Boy version, but actually selecting anything is so confusing. Also, I'm sure you've noticed, the game has next to no audio during gameplay. And here we are with the NES version, which was developed by Enigma Variations, the same company behind the Game Boy version. Now this NES version was never released despite being completed, and I can understand why, because it's horrible. At least the Master System version looked nice. This version looks awful, has no audio, and plays even more confusingly than the Master System release. You don't even have the main icons on screen, you need to press pause to select them. This is a PC Engine release which was apparently developed by Alpha System, and boy, it is a laggy mess, as this opening clearly shows. Playing the game is not fun at all. There are so many times you're waiting a few seconds for anything to happen after your button press, if anything does happen. You see, I found, or at least it seemed like, the game didn't always register the player's input. At least it sounds better than the Mega Drive version, and probably looks about the same. And let's finish off with the Super Famicom version. Well, I expected this to be slower than the Mega Drive and PC Engine, but you know what? It's actually not too bad. It has the scrolling map option, so you don't need to use the horrible arrow controls to move around. It's fairly responsive, and it has a reasonable atmospheric soundtrack. Do I know what I'm doing though? That's the big question, and the answer is still not a bloody clue. And let's take a look at all those versions of Populous running side by side.